In the dead of winter, in the forgotten farmlands of Plainfield, Wisconsin, stood a dilapidated farmhouse. It was a place locals whispered about, a place that held a darkness far deeper than its unlit windows suggested. This was the home of Ed Gein, a name that would soon be seared into the annals of American crime, not for the number of his victims, but for the sheer, unimaginable horror discovered within his walls. The story begins on a cold November night in 1957. Bernice Worden, the owner of the local hardware store, had vanished. The last customer she served was Ed Gein, who had come in for a gallon of antifreeze. When Bernice's son, a deputy sheriff, arrived at the store, he found a blood trail leading out the back. The cash register was open, but the last receipt was for that single gallon of antifreeze. The receipt book held the name Ed Gein. Deputies raced to Gein's isolated farm. The place was a monument to neglect, filled with piles of junk, old magazines, and the debris of a solitary life. But as they pushed deeper into the house, the clutter gave way to chaos, and the chaos gave way to a scene straight from a nightmare. What they found there would defy all comprehension. In a summer kitchen, they made the first gruesome discovery. It was the missing store owner, Bernice Worden, but the horror didn't stop there. As investigators cautiously moved through the darkened rooms, their flashlights revealed objects of unspeakable origin: bowls made from human skulls, chairs upholstered with human skin, a corset crafted from a woman's torso, lampshades, leggings, and masks all fashioned from the remains of the dead. The deputies were hardened men, but this was a level of depravity they had never encountered. The air was thick with the stench of decay. It became horrifyingly clear that Ed Gein hadn't just taken one life. He had been visiting the local cemeteries for years, exhuming the recently buried under the cover of darkness. He confessed to at least 9 such nighttime expeditions. His motive: it was a twisted, tragic story rooted in a deeply troubled upbringing, dominated by his fanatically religious mother. Augusta Ed grew up isolated from the world. She taught him that all women, except for herself, were instruments of evil. After she passed away, Ed was left utterly alone in the silent farmhouse, his mind spiraling into a desperate, macabre attempt to recreate his mother, to literally bring her back to life by becoming her. The skin suits, the masks, they were his grotesque attempt to crawl into the skin of a woman to resurrect the only person he had ever truly known. Ed Gein was ultimately found unfit to stand trial due to insanity and was committed to a state hospital for the criminally insane, where he remained until his death. He was known as a quiet, polite patient, a stark contrast to the monster who had turned a Wisconsin farmhouse into a museum of horror. The story of Ed Gein didn't end with his capture. The shocking details of his crimes sent a ripple effect through popular culture, inspiring some of the most iconic horror villains in history. Norman Bates from Psycho, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs all owe a part of their terrifying legacy to the quiet, unassuming man from Plainfield. His story serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are not creatures of fiction, but are born from the quiet desperation of the human mind. Thank you so much for journeying into this dark chapter of history with me. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the strange and mysterious. Stay curious and stay safe.